Welcome back, everybody. Tom now joined by Kyle here to take us through round number 2 of the RCQ. It's been a very interesting day so far. We saw 2 decks that were not VV and not mono-red, but it's going to be a little bit different this time. Cards that were being played.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's a Geological Appraiser in Bismon's hand here.
Oh, brother. We're back in Pioneer?
I wish. Geological Appraiser, though, is definitely a card that is more powerful in sort of like the fair mid-range decks here, because it's basically Bloodbraid Elf in Standard. You have the ability to put it back into your hand if something you don't want to cast immediately, but in general, it's a value engine, but that means that Bismon's probably looking to play things that are much smaller than this.
Oh, yeah. Looks like Bismarck with the Charmer Fail Passage should be pass and go, and Talia is getting the perfect curve of Higher Claw turn 1.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is basically what the mono-red deck wants to do.
Bailmer comes out from Bismarck. Alright, so it gets a little bit of milling action here. So I wonder what we're going to see from the mill.
Yeah, the Overlord of the Bailmerk is not what I anticipated this Dragons deck playing. It's definitely something that I would associate more with more of the Pixie style decks and things. Like those are some of the decks that have been playing Overlord of the Bailmerk, flickering it and then just getting like pure value off of it.
Nova Hellkite from the mill.
No, okay, well
Nice.
yeah, that is definitely a dragon in the set. It seems like both of these players may be playing that card though.
And it looks like turn 2 Emberheart Challenger, so really actually kind of the perfect start here. So we'll be taking, looks like 4 damage here, going down to 16, and Bismon does have the Hellkite, which is not too bad, but not going to be killing anything. Are we just going to play the Hellkite just to get in for 4, or do we have any type of removal here? It looks like we might, but we're rolling it a little bit back.
I think Bismon needs to do something to develop the board this very quickly. Next turn, Screaming Nemesis is a big threat, so you need to kind of think about that. And it looks like Sunset Saboteur is going to hit the table.
Sunset Saboteur. What exactly does this card do?
Oh, this is a 4/1 menace that is going to start putting counters on your opponent's creatures, so it's not the greatest in the mono-red matchup. However, Ward Discarded card is pretty huge, and this can effectively trade with almost everything in mono-red's deck just by being a 4-power creature.
Let's see, we got coming out is the Nova.
Oh.
Oh god, no! So much value is coming out here from this Hellkite. Discarding card just is not a worse value because you're just discarding Nemesis, which interesting, but oh my god, Nova Hellkite getting all the value here is over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. This one is potentially facing lethal next turn.
Yeah, this is not looking good for the Dragons deck. It's losing to its own card. But yeah, this is going to be just a quick little poke. And like we were saying, the Sunset Saboteur with the low toughness, not the greatest in this specific matchup. But now Bismon, big draw step here. Being a Rakdos deck, I can't really think of any board wipes here, but here's the Geological Appraiser we saw before. Now it's time to spin the wheel.
Slasher.
Ooh, okay, that's a good blocker
that's
here.
Good. So so far we're seeing only 1 dragon in this deck, but Slasher, very good card that can turn the corner very quickly.
I was actually surprised to see okay, we saw the Geological Appraiser in the opening hand, then we saw Overlord of the Bailmerk and Nova Hellkite, which are things you cannot discover into with the Geological Appraiser. But if you're playing value cards like Slasher, I would not be surprised if Bismon has a sneaky Cruel Claw on this list as well, because I know he was a big fan of that previously.
I think what's a Bismon card that we know is he would like to cook up in a Rakdos standard deck?
I mean, Fires of Invention is not standard legal anymore, unfortunately. All right, double Hired Claw, and here's the Scalding Viper to bounce.
Hey, that's what the blue's for. But it looks like so much damage in coming in once more. It looks like I'm swinging for just a little bit 4. Blocking the Hired Claw. Taking 2 down to 6. And this actually does not look like he's in a bad spot right now.
Well, the thing is with these Hired Claws here, by blocking the 1 Hired Claw, we are going to get that pinging trigger off of the battlefield. However, if there's a 3rd Hired Claw or something else along the lines, being able to...
Lightning Strike.
Yeah, Lightning Strike would be here. We're not in kicked burst lightning range quite yet, but...
Yeah. Multiverse Passage.
All right, that one has to come into play tapped, unfortunately.
I think we should shock it. Screw it.
All right, Bismon just putting the black mana there, so we know that this is representing a swamp.
There we go.
That's one way to deal with covering up some Spider-Mans, but we are going to wind up seeing Unstoppable Slasher come down again.
End step pass. Alright, so we do have our 2 blockers here. Now, luckily, Talia's been missing some land drops here, so we can't broadcast Nova Hellkite. But looks like we do have. Oh, we have a Hellkite in hand.
Ooh, being able to just warp this would be pretty big, because that is lethal, correct? There's no
Yes.
flying blockers.
There's no fly walkers. This we are going to be playing the Hellkite, I'm pretty sure, and for something lethal. Oh, yep, and Bisman's scoop it right up immediately. So Bismon not getting. Actually, looked like he had a great start here, but sadly not good enough.
Yeah, the Rakdos Dragons list, which only had one dragon that we saw, was unfortunately just not doing enough things to kind of present lethal, like, not lethal, but present threats that the red deck really had to care about. We saw Tanya being able to just kind of play their game the way that they wanted to, curving out 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and then a bunch of hasty creatures to kind of follow up, or impactful creatures like the additional copies of the Hired Claw there. So Tanya's deck was just kind of doing exactly what red wants to do, whereas on the side of Bismon, unfortunately, it does look like that Bismon's deck kind of petered out a little bit, and I'm interested to see what sideboard options Bismon has to kind of deal with the more aggressive red angle. I'm looking at Bismon kind of fanning through his list there. I'm seeing Cecils, I'm seeing all these really good 1-for-1 value Rakdos cards. But when the mono red deck is going to be able to do things like warp in a 4/5 on turn 3 and being able to cast a removal spell for that Cecil and pump their prowess creatures, it's a little bit harder for Bismon's deck to really set up to get that discover value.
Oh yeah, and then also seeing the power from the blue splash with casting the alternate, casting the adventure side of Scalding Viper.
Oh yeah.
Actually mattered a lot because usually most of the time the bounce effect doesn't really matter that too much.
No, normally you would be thinking that the bounce effect is just kind of cheeky and cute to like reset some counters for like the VV Cauldron matchup, which isn't necessarily even the biggest swing of advantage. But here, when you're playing fair magic, air quotes, fair magic, and you're playing one thing per turn, or in that case, you played a geological appraiser and then it gave you a second thing. When you were able to undo one of those things, we saw Akira in chat saying, OMG, she just casted Time Walk. Like, yeah, that is exactly what happened. It set Bismon's fair game plan a turn behind. And as much as I like the Overlord because it lets you find those pieces and set up your next couple of plays, the downside is if Overlord is your turn 2, you need to have like Cecil on 1 or your board just does nothing against mono red for 3 turns.
I mean, I wonder what's going to be in Bisman's board here because I've not really paid too much attention. I never saw the deck list, but I'm assuming there's going to be more spot removal on the side, hopefully.
All right, so spot removal is definitely something. However, spot removal can be very hit or miss against the mono red decks, especially when they start going a little bit wider. One card I am looking at that may be something that Bismon wants to use as a kind of like 2-for-1 is Harvester of Misery. If that is a card that Bismon has in his sideboard, this can stop a threat a little bit earlier on, but it also can wind up just being a board wipe against all of the low drop creatures from the mono red deck. If Bismon's able to have some sort of way to get this card out earlier than turn 5, that's very powerful. Otherwise, I'm thinking of cards like Deadly Cover Up. I'm thinking about like all these like
Malicious Eclipse.
The Malicious Eclipse could be one. That's a 3-mana one, which is very good. But a lot of the black things that have the ability to deal with the board as a whole don't really start until turn 5, which Bismon was dead by in that game.
Yeah. This deck has been very good.
I guess
for a while now. It's actually interesting to see how the deck is going. Just see how the deck is going to adapt with the BB decks with all the new Spider-Man cards. But he's been on the play again. Let's see if he can survive a little bit longer than turn 5.
Yeah, the one issue with Bismon wanting to sideboard into more removal is the fact that a lot of his own cards are going to die to the board wipes that black and red have access to. I was just thinking off the top of my head as well, Slagstorm had a reprint Foundations. Being able to deal 3 damage to each creature is very powerful against the red deck. It can, of course, trigger their Screaming Nemesis, which you may have to deal with, but it also kills your Unstoppable Slasher, which I guess comes back, but it kills your Geological Appraiser, it kills your Cecil. The only thing we saw that it didn't kill was Overlord and Hellkite, which are also late game plays.
Looks like we are gonna have another Fable turn 1. This to get swamped, so it should be signal to Tanya that this might be a little bit of danger to be walking into here, but do we have a turn 1 play potentially? What's that one? Is Bastronaut? Is that what it's called?
Mm.
The goblin guy.
Burnout Bastronaut
There
was
we go.
such an all-star when I played this deck yesterday, but it looks like that Tanya, keeping a bit of a slower hand, does not have the turn 1 play, which does allow Bismon's Overlord of the Baelmerk on turn 2 to be a little bit more effective. Is that a Terror of the Peaks? No, that's a Stingerback?
That's yeah, that's Stingerback and Dover Hellkite. It looks like we're already taking the Stinger back. Oh my god.
Okay, so we can plot this card, right? This is pretty
Yes.
powerful. So, okay, so Bismon is basically going to be playing to empty his hand to make this thing as big as possible, as quickly as possible.
Donnie needs to double check what this card does too, because
So did we.
yeah, but like Mind Trample for 3 mana potentially is very, very strong here. If you get rid of it, you can blow your whole hand, which it seems like it's very possible for Bismon to some type of discard effect, but but Razorkin Needlehead coming out here, a current all-star in the Mono-Red deck, but we're gonna be taking one on draw now. We're playing the Verge, and we're gonna be playing the Unstoppable Slasher once more.
All right, we're playing Duskmourn Limited here.
Actually, yeah, everything but Dustborn. Don't mind this, the dragon in the hand. Bismon, five cards in hand. Tanya, potentially missing 3rd land drop here.
That would be pretty big for this red deck too. Hitting 3 lands when you start sideboarding in a bunch of your removal is pretty important for this deck to be able to kind of play removal plus something.
I do see a Shoot the Sheriff in Bismon's hand here. Unfortunately, Razor King the hit is an assassin.
Did you know that today, I mean, I knew this beforehand, but it was made very apparent to me today, villains are not outlaws.
Yeah. It's very interesting, right?
That's a flavor fail. Somebody needs to...
Need to wrap up.
Someone needs to call Morrow and let him know.
Oh, Nova Hellkite is going to come out here. So we do have their lane drop. We're just going to touch the Slasher with the ping, and we're going to go down to 13 for Bismon.
Yeah, that's a pretty heads-up play here, too, from Tanya, because that means that Bismon doesn't have the free block on the now first striking Razorkin Needlehead, so that's not going to be able to trade effectively with the Unstoppable Slasher, and since Bismon doesn't have anything else on the board, tapping that down and keeping it stunned for 2 turns might spell death.
Hitting our 4th land drop here for Bismon. I think we do have a Geologic Droppers in the hand, so let's see what we can try to hit if we do decide to cast it. Just like we are going to be tapping for it. It's going to be that Geological Appraiser we saw in the hand before.
There we go.
It's time to discover.
Spin the wheel. Do we get removal spell for the Needlehead?
Slasher 2 is pretty damn good as well.
That means that this Slasher is going to get aggressive. That's going to deal 2 and then cut Tanya down to 9.
9? Yo, Molten thought you were fast. Slasher, I'm about 20 to 9 real quick.
Oh yeah, and this is all of a sudden things looking pretty solid for Bismon with this giant flip of life total. Now Tanya has to not deal with just 1 Slasher, but 2 Slashers before both of them connect. So that means that Tanya might even have to play defense here at the Mono-Red deck.
Yeah. Going to a more defensive side on the Mono-Red deck is not really one to be. Because you don't really have a lot of removal unless I'm trying to think of removal on the sideboard. Actually, we're telling maybe some Obliterating Bolts.
I think there's a Witch Stalker's
Stalker,
Frenzy in Tanya's hand there, yeah.
It's not the worst, but like these Slashers gonna be so hard to deal with because they just come back anyway.
Obliterating Bolt, definitely the one that Tanya wants to see here, since that exiles. That would make the Slashers stoppable as opposed to unstoppable.
Let's see a tiny decision here because this is probably the penultimate turn for her, and looks like a lot of lands and not too much happens.
Yeah, as I say, it does look a bit of a land-heavy hand here, and Tanya just going to say pass after playing that Soulstone Sanctuary, so...
This one's been down to 11 now from that Razorkin, so we have a blocker, but we have to block at least 1 Slasher here.
The good thing about Witch Stalker's Frenzy is it just cares about attacking creatures, so Bismon jams with everything. Tanya's going to get a 1 mana removal spell off of the Witch Stalker's Frenzy, which is pretty nice.
Oh yeah.
But then we may wind up having to trade away our Needlekin as well. So here we go.
I'm going to go combat swing all. Let's see if Tanya has any response or tries to go to blocks. Let's see. Because you can just... Before you even block yourself, you can kill one, then side blocks after, see if there's a response from Bismon since he has all this open mana. But it's a really hard decision here.
If Bismon has any sort of pump spells too, that would be pretty powerful. I don't know. It looks like Bismon only have the Stinger back in hand though, unless he's picked his cards up off the table.
Please pick these cards up.
So like, I don't know, a Dreadmaw's Ire or something would be pretty interesting. Okay, yeah, Bismon still has plenty of cards in hand. I don't think this style of deck is playing pump spells though. It's like the worst thing to discover into with your geological appraisal.
Hey, if Monster Stranger is still legal, Bismarck will play it.
I mean, yeah, that's basically Lightning Bolt. You play that sucker at instant speed. Doesn't matter if that's in your hand right now or not.
Oh yeah.
But Tanya taking a double check here, because what would wind up happening is going, if you were to take the full damage from the Unstoppable Slashers, you take 4 damage. That would put you down to 5, and then you're going to wind up losing half of your life twice, which would kill you. I think. I said that with so much confidence, but you would think that the person that plays the mono black decks would know about this stuff.
Is this your specialty?
Yeah, unfortunately for me, most of my slashers are stoppable.
Let's see what we have here for Tanya.
So this is probably the Witchstalker's Frenzy, because Tanya has let attacks happen. So this Witchstalker's Frenzy is going to be discounted down to just 1 mana. But let's see what else is in Tanya's hand. Lightning Strike. So that's going to have to be 2. So we have an ability to get rid of both slashers this turn if we want to, but Tanya is just going to wind up taking the damage here. So that's 5, and then we're cutting our life total down to 2.
2 to 11 here. Does Bizon have any way to drain? Nope, we're just gonna plot. Oh, actually, we're just gonna hardcast this terror.
Oh yeah. And this Terra currently is a 5/5 flyer, so it's going to wind up tussling with basically everything that Tanya has. And ooh, Tanya actually holding on to this Witchstalker's Frenzy, again, only cares about when creatures attacked this turn. So that discount is still available until end of turn, and that is going to deal exactly 5 to the Stingerback Terror.
Very disciplined play from Tanya. But let's see, can we turn to corner this turn? Looks like we are gonna get that. Oh, actually, it's a River Pirate. My bad. I thought it would be the dragon. What is the dragon? It's the. I forgot the name of the creature.
Nova Hellkite?
No.
Or.
What the adventure?
Oh, Scalding Viper.
Scalding Viper.
Alright, so we can bounce the Slasher, block the Geological Appraiser, but then there's an Overlord coming off of impending next turn as well. So Tanya is going to have to basically runner to get herself out of this one. It's going to be a very difficult situation. So we do wind up seeing Viper coming on down and then bouncing that one. Oh, well, technically it's going to bounce it and then come down because you have to cast the Adventure side first.
I'm Tanya's debating if she wants to swing with this Razorkin, because swinging with this is probably not worth it. And yep, looks like we're just gonna pass. Bring Bismuth down to the 10 with the draw. And I think it was landing off the top. So, also the Shoot the Sheriff is not alive for Bismuth.
It is, yeah. The Scalding Viper is not an outlaw. So we can shoot the Sheriff, the Scalding Viper, and force the block with the Needlekin.
Oh, Hellkite actually instead. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we're just going to wind up warping that one, and then Tanya has been hoisted by her own petard there.
Oh, yeah.
The Nova Hellkite works out for Bismon this time around, and double dragons coming into play for Bismon, putting the dragon in Rakdos Dragons that game.
Yeah, so we're seeing a little bit of more dragons coming out here. So that's a good thing to see. Well, Tanya did not have the greatest of starts.
A little slow.
A little bit anemic. Like, it could have got there potentially, but unfortunately the draws were not there. And it looks like we're all going to be making a little bit of sideboard changes after what we saw from game 1, which looks like this one has some play draw. Looks like 1 card.
Yeah, I mean, this might be something along the lines of, like, if I'm on the draw, I'm taking out some of my discard spells. I think that might have been the duress right there that accidentally got flipped on the table. But, yeah, it's very interesting because the mono-red deck does play, even though it's very creature dense, it doesn't necessarily, like, the spells that it does play are very impactful. Obliterating Bolts, Scorching Shots, Witchstalker Frenzies, these removal spells that can deal with Bismon's big threats. Bismon's able to put up, like, a Unstoppable Slasher wall of defense and then get rid of those cards before the big things hit. You may not necessarily need to play a bunch of, board wipes and those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest part for Bismarck is he just needs not to have any draws to just be in the game, which is kind of hard ass, but Maybe it's all Rakdos good stuff. It's probably fine.
So one of the things that Tanya may be thinking about here from her sideboard option is the mono red deck does play a couple of different active treason effects. There's like Twisted Fealty and Vengeful Possession are the two that come to mind. One creates the Wicked Roll token to give it an extra power or an extra damage, and then one winds up giving you the option to discard draw. So there are a bunch of different types of these 3-mana active treasons that could come into play. Stealing an Unstoppable Slasher from Bismon's side to half his life total when you're playing a bunch of burn spells as well.
Oh yeah.
Pretty solid line of action. So Tanya may be thinking, do I actually take out some of my lower drop removal? You know, do I wind up not playing like Abrades and stuff and just playing these active treason effects instead to steal away some of those cards? Of course, if you can steal away like Stingerback Stalker might not be the greatest, but if Tanya's just throwing cards out onto the battlefield already, your hand is going to be very small, so the Stingerback will wind up being large, and if you're able to just steal the opposing Nova Hellkite, not that shabby either. It could just be the extra 4 or 5 damage that you need to win one of these races.
Hear me out.
Hearing you out.
Steal Overlord Realmlurk. Swing. Trigger. Get back. Any creature named Screaming Nemesis.
Yeah, the Screaming Nemesis is something that we saw Tanya discard it when basically she had the game already wrapped up in game number 1. But Screaming Nemesis is also something that would be pretty powerful because you're going to be able to kind of... There are a lot of 3 toughness or 2 toughness threats on Bismon's side. We haven't necessarily seen any sort of life gain. However, the 3 damage going to Bismon's face after, you know, a 1 and 2 drop have started things off is a very impactful thing that Bismon's deck has to keep in mind, especially if Bismon is playing, you know, Shoot the Sheriff is fine. It's going to have to go after those Screaming Nemesis. But if you're playing things like Abrades or Torch the Tower, or not necessarily Torch the Tower, but like Abrades or Scorching Shot type effects instead of playing, you know, Tragic Trajectory, or I guess maybe Bismon might have access to Caustic Exhale, as Akira pointed out in the chat. This Screaming Nemesis could just wind up killing you.
Oh yeah. Looks like Tanya is very happy with her hand. Looks like you have Razorkin. Looks like you have 2 lands hand. Looks like a little bit of Burst Lightnings, and Bismon, I thought his hand looked pretty fine, but maybe he thinks not good enough.
One of the biggest issues with the Rakdos decks right now, from talking with Brandon, who was on stream just the previous round, as well as just in general being a Rakdos enjoyer myself, is your lands suck right now. Like, you have Multiversal Passage as your Blood Crypt, but you can only choose one or the other. You don't have access to Blackleaf Cliffs. You have a Verge, but it creates I believe it's red on when you don't own a swamp. I'm gonna just double check that right now, but your land base is one of the worst right now.
Ooh, is that Scavenger Regent?
Yes, it is. Sorry, it creates black on turn 1, but doesn't create red until later, so it's good enough to play like Duress or Tragic Trajectory.
Scavenger Regent kind of talk about this card many times with Bismon, and we think it's very, very bad, but it's kind of like an evil you have to play.
I kind of forgot about this card as a board wipe too. I mean, like if you cast this for
Caustic Exhale.
There we go. All right, so we got the combo.
Getting a nice little 1 mana, honestly, might say is pretty strong here, but also showing a face-up board wipe is actually pretty scary for Tanya. To be a little bit more reserved with her play.
I was gonna say, if you wind up casting this for 3 or 4, it's your stopgap, and you can untap and then do it again. But it looks like Tanya missing land number 3 as well, just playing Needlekin hits Bismon for 1, but this is playing into like that turn 4 of Bismon setting up to then cast the Regent the next turn.
Looks like we had, let me go here for Bismon. Tanya having the chance to get another land here, and it looks like it will be a Bastronaut.
There we go.
Here we go. This little guy looks not menacing at first, but gets pretty scary as the later the game goes.
Yeah, Burnout Bastronaut has been a house, especially once you get up to 4 speed, which is surprisingly easy in the mono red deck.
It's very, very easy. A 1 mana 1/1 with menace, but also gets pumped for a while, and max speed gets double strike. Pretty concerning here, but Bismon paying attacks of, you know what, we have to deal with this board right now. It's a bit scary here, and also looks like we might have that. What's that -1/- from each turn you hand dragon in hand?
Oh, the Stingerback Terror.
Stingerback Terror.
All right, so yeah, this board wipe here from the Scavenger region is like backbreaking when Tanya is missing land drops here. Most importantly, Tanya is on a rock face village in addition to the one land, which means that double red spells like Scorching Shot or even later in the game like a Sunspine Links are just not available, right? Or Sunspine Links will be available, but like Scorching Shot
Is
and
that
those types of effects are not
is that the
available.
Soulstone?
That is the Soulstone.
A little bit more Spider-Man action here in Card Art RCQ, which
I didn't know Bismon had it like that.
this one having Soulstone pretty interesting. I mean, nice game there, but it's a 2 mana, add 1 black, and you can 7 mana exile a creature you control to harness. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield is pretty strong here, and it looks like we'll have a another dragon card that's
Oh, that's the red version, the red Caustic card.
Caustic.
It's not breath. It's not exhale because exhale's the black
It
one.
has to be some type of breath, and it looks like we're going to be playing the Scavenger region.
Either that or it's just Dragonfire breath. We lost internet. There we go. We are back. Unfortunately, we had a small hiccup in the stream there, so apologies for that. But we did wind up having Bismon just cast a removal spell and then immediately be able to play a Scavenger Regent as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the Soulstone hit the battlefield, Scavenger Regent came down. It looks like we are just going to get a removal spell over here. It looks like it was Scorching Shot and then the ward being paid here by Tanya.
We can't cast Scorching Shot.
Or not Scorching Shot, that was might have been a Obliterating Bolt.
Oh, yeah,
Because the Regent got exiled, so.
It looks like another Discover into another Slasher. It looks like Bismon might take this game away with Tanya missing land drops for
days.
so many turns.
Yeah, okay, we wind up finding land number 3, although it's one...
It's fine.
So
Nemesis, here we go.
This would have been such a great curve to have Needlekin, Nemesis, backup removal. Tanya, unfortunately, I think this game is slipping away from her at this point. We're about to get an Unstoppable Slasher swing, the Geological Appraiser as well. Bismon really doesn't have to play any other creatures at this point. This is like a 3-turn clock on Tanya.
Oh, yeah. And Tanya is going to be going to 9, going to 7, I'm pretty sure.
Down to 6, actually, because we took 5 down to 15, then we lose half of that. So damn. All right, at 7. And then another Scavenger Regent hits the battlefield. So now not only does Tanya have to deal with these 2 ground threats, but there's a 4/4 flyer with ward, discard a card.
Tanya hitting the land drops now, but it's a bit too late. What's so anything in the deck that can potentially get you out of the situation is very questionable.
So we see there's a bunch of Lightning Strikes and a Screaming Nemesis in hand. So we can Lightning Strike the 2 creatures, go down to 3. But then Tanya needs to have a way to deal with this Regent. There is a Nova Hellkite in hand, which could buy a turn as a blocker. But that's assuming Bismon has Stone Cold nothing left in his hand.
Oh, yeah. So I would rely Tanya hitting that 5th land drop.
Yeah, that's also pretty big. So here we go, going to attacks.
We're going to
Lightning Strike 1.
So Slash Strike has 2 stun counters. And it looks like we're going to Lightning Strike the other one. Just a little bit of Praiser. So we'll be doing the 4, taking 4, down to 2. Those are down to 3.
Yeah, Tanya is on the edge of literally a stiff breeze from Bismon.
First passage, choosing Swamp. Can we hit a land drop here? Tanya needs to hit the land drop for that. Nova Hellkite, looks like we do.
Okay, so we have blocker. We don't have damage. We just have blocker.
To region, which is important.
Yes. So we see a 4, and most importantly, Nova Hellkite is a 4/5. So Nova Hellkite is actually a really solid wall against Scavenger specific until it gets shot as a Sheriff. So that's going to be
All
it.
right. Looks like Bismon, so take it 2-1 versus Mono-Red, where like a little bit of a murder, but Bismon's deck showing what it does best and just outvaluing over time.